Hi friends, I'm Audrey Christie, holistic wellness practitioner. I've helped hundreds of women find relief and remission and get free and clear from psoriasis. Today, we're talking more about psoriasis. We spent the last couple of weeks in the realm of psoriasis, and today we're talking about psoriasis diet. Now, you might be like, oh God, if you do a Google search on the psoriasis diet, you will literally find millions of things that you cannot consume. And it's very easy to understand why someone might look at that and go, holy crap, I can't eat anything. But I am here to help. If you like this kind of wellness content, talking about autoimmune disease, how you can find relief and remission, and also get free and clear from things like psoriasis, then make sure you subscribe and click the bell so you get notified each week when I bring you new information. So like I said, today we're talking about the psoriasis diet. Don't let the diet word fool you. Normally when I talk about diet, I'm talking about lots of things, like anything that you consume mentally, energetically, or in your mouth physically, right? But today we're going to focus just on the food. And because I help people with all sorts of different things, I want to make sure that you understand that we're going to talk about some things to avoid, but we're also going to talk about increasing the things you can enjoy. This is by no means an all-inclusive list. Another thing I want to touch on, and you can get the full download in the podcast episode. The link is in the show notes below. Also, make sure you grab the free download, Going Gluten-Free and Dairy-Free. That will help you as well. And I just gave away what we're going to talk about. But what most people don't understand that the psoriasis is more than just a rash. And often it starts early, right? And often it takes up to like 5 years to diagnose. People will go to the doctor over and over and over again, and they'll get diagnosed with things like eczema and seborrheic dermatitis, or just dermatitis. Or my favorite is urticaria of unknown etiology, which is just a bunch of words that means you have a rash and we don't know why, right? But the truth of the matter is that we do know why. Conventional medicine doesn't know a lot why, but we do know why. And there are some conventional medical treatments. You can listen to or watch the previous episode to learn more about what those are and what some of the side effects are. Whether you choose a conventional medical route or a completely natural route, it's important to take heed to the information I'm giving you today, because these are the things that are going to give your body the resiliency to withstand those conventional medical treatments and the resiliency to make those natural treatments work even better. So let's talk about 3 things to avoid. The first one is gluten, right? So gluten is a protein found in wheat. It's found in some grains. It's found in the hybrids of wheat and grains. It's found in barley and rye and oats and all sorts of things. It's a cheap way to thicken products, so you will find it in almost everything, unless it specifically says gluten-free. Gluten is something that you need to avoid 100%. It's one of the few non-negotiables in my practice. If you have an autoimmune condition, you need to be off gluten, period. It will prevent all of the inflammation. It will help reduce a lot of problems. And what it does for us is it gives us a baseline. You have to clear those muddy waters, clear that inflammation so we can see what actually is going on. And then eventually, if you feel like, and I don't feel anybody should eat gluten, but if you feel like gluten's right for you, you can add that back in. The second thing to get rid of is dairy. Now, interestingly, I hear people say all the time, well, gosh, what's with all these dairy issues now? The very first recorded dairy issue was over 2,000 years ago. It was recorded by Hippocrates. It was gastrointestinal inflammation and skin problems after consuming cow's milk. This is not a new problem. Dairy is heavily marketed to us as necessary, as a good way to get calcium, which it's not, as a good way to get vitamin D, which it's also not, and as something important for kids. And so it's one of the very first things that we give kids, in their first year of life. And unless you're a baby cow, you should not be drinking cow's milk or consuming dairy products, especially if you have an autoimmune condition like psoriasis. I can tell you bunches of stories, lots of stories of people who have given up gluten and dairy, and 72 hours later, their skin is completely clear. Now, there are people that doesn't work for, that there's some other trigger like eggs or the one we're going to talk about next. But for many, many people, it is a very inflammatory trigger. For all people, it's inflammatory. It just depends on the level. For psoriasis people, for people with any condition leading up to psoriasis or misdiagnosed as not psoriasis, it's something to get rid of. The third thing is refined sugar. Now, a lot of people are like, well, dang, Audrey, you said I can't have gluten, dairy, or refined sugar. I'm not going to be able to have desserts ever. Like, that takes away all the desserts. Let me tell you, we're in a household with no gluten, dairy, or sugar, or eggs, and we eat cake My daughter makes cupcakes and sells them. We eat ice cream. We had ice cream last night after dinner. It's made from cashew milk or coconut milk, or depends, almond milk, just depends on what flavor we're getting. Like, this is not an end all be all. We just make our desserts with ingredients that are not inflammatory and frankly taste better. Trust me, once you've had the good stuff, you will not ever look at a Chips Ahoy cookie as something edible ever again. I promise. So in that regard, it's what I don't want you to do when you're getting rid of sugar is to jump onto the bandwagon if I have to count all my carbs and all this stuff. That's not what I'm saying. I just want you to use natural sugar replacements. I want you to get your sugars from fruits and vegetables. I want you to get your sugars from maple syrup in a reasonable amount. Of course, you can't have maple syrup as your primary focus of every meal every day, or that'll lead to health problems, right? But you can have that. You can have ice cream and chocolate, good chocolate, right? And it doesn't have to have dairy or refined sugar in it. So think of things like coconut sugar, maple syrup, monk fruit sugar as ways that you can enjoy the sweetness in life without having the problem of the inflammation that comes with it, of the blood sugar spike that causes more inflammation. And we'll talk more about that when I talk about type 1 diabetes coming up soon. So those are the big three, right? Those are the three to get rid of. I've got a free download in the notes below. It'll help you what to look for, what are the hidden ingredients, what are some alternatives, a beginner's guide to going gluten-free and dairy-free. And now let's talk about the foods to add to your diet, because it's so much more fun to add good things. Now, some of my favorite things to add for people who have psoriasis are all the papayas you can eat. They can be dried, they can be fresh, whatever you can get your hands on. Wild blueberries, organic strawberries and raspberries, celery. Now, one of the questions I get asked a lot is, should I do the medical medium celery juice thing? I don't think it hurts. I don't think it should be your only strategy. And for some people, it's not appropriate at all. So again, it's that darn bio-individuality that gets us. But eating celery is something that everyone can do, right? Because you're not taking it and massively shoving as much of it as you can in your body at once, right? Cruciferous vegetables, things like cauliflower and broccoli, eat a bunch of that. Eat lots of cucumbers and carrots and leafy greens, all the sprouts and microgreens you can get. And guys, those are so much fun to grow, especially if you have littles or if you just like to garden. I happen to do both. I like to garden and I have littles. They're very easy. I grow them inside year round. Sweet potatoes, also something to really, really enjoy. And then season your food with things like cilantro and garlic and ginger and turmeric, and eat chaga mushrooms. Get all the adaptogens that you can put into your body. So eating a psoriasis diet is not about what you can't have. It's about removing the inflammatory factors and then exploring this whole new world of delicious and nutritious and nourishing, inflammatory reducing things into your body. So next week, we're going to talk about energetically and emotionally what things you can do to find relief and remission, get free and clear from psoriasis. And to wrap this up, make sure you download the cheat sheet, get rid of gluten and dairy. If you do nothing else, get rid of those two for me. If you know someone with psoriasis, be sure to send them this content. I offer complimentary case reviews if you have more in-depth questions. If I'm not the provider for you, I have a whole network of providers. I will find somebody that matches your needs. And thank you so much for checking this out. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you like this information, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, give me a thumbs down. That's okay too. I'll always answer your comments below. Be well.